Hello, everyone. This is Warhawk Beyond 2040, bringing to you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And we are joined with a very special guest who hasn't been on here for quite a while, but it's great to have him here once again. The one and only, the holiday, Christopher Mace. Chris, it's great to have you back here again. How are you?
More work. It's so hard to find the time nowadays. Everybody working for staff with everything going on in the world nowadays. So, but I had a little bit of time to go ahead and talk about the subject we're talking about today.
Of course, and it's great to have you here again. So, today we are going to be talking about the possibility of Randy Orton retiring from WWE. This is something I never thought we would ever talk about. Randy Orton possibly retiring. Just crazy, really. Now, there's been rumors going around that Orton could retire because, as we all know, he's been injured for quite some time now. He's undergone spinal surgery, so he's been out of action for seems like forever. You know, it's been the longest time Orton's been away from the ring, and I've been hearing stories today that Randy Orton could be retiring. Cowboy Bob Orton, his dad, said that doctors have told him to stay away from the ring. So, Chris, we'll start with you. I mean, what's your thoughts on Randy Orton possibly retiring? I mean, what do you think about this situation?
I mean, he had his last match. We already heard the story. He was already injured when he had that last match with Riddle tag as Raw tag champion, losing to the Usos for the unified tag titles. We already had heard he was injured, but he wanted to get through and get that matchup and do the right thing and drop the titles in the ring. And he didn't really do much in that match. You could see he didn't do too much that match. It was more Riddle doing on most of the work in there.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. He didn't do the surgery right away for a while. He did therapy first, and then he went with the surgery. And so now we see these posts from Bob Orton saying that he doesn't need to be wrestling anymore. Doctor told him not to wrestle. Like he's more speaking for his son than Randy Orton letting anybody know. So it's one of those situations. Like if he appeared on Monday Night Raw tonight to address this and said he was retiring, it'd be so like kind of like Edge, like all of a sudden out of blue when Edge originally retired, it was all of a sudden out of blue. He just retired. We didn't know anything was wrong. But now with all more social media information, we're already getting an idea that this could be a possibility for him. Will be retiring from wrestling because the original plan he was supposed to face Reigns at SummerSlam was the original plan. It was supposed to be Riddle in a title match and Orton in a title match. It would have been Drew at Clash of the Castle. I remember how it was supposed to go. And that's not how it played out because Orton definitely was injured at the time, so he could have on the match.
Well, I mean, it would be a shame for, Randy Orton to retire without actually competing in like a retirement match, but I would much rather have Randy Orton, be healthy and well than be crippled because it is a shame because, Randy Orton, he's pretty much as far as like the recent crop of WWE talent that came from OVW, he's pretty much outlasted virtually everyone, really. I mean, Batista's gone. John Cena, he comes in and out occasionally. Brock Lesnar, he's pretty much competing as a part timer, and I think Brock Lesnar's nearly on his way out as well. He's talked about retiring, and a bunch of other guys who were around during the Ruthless Aggression era. Most of them are all gone, either like all retired or they've moved on to different things. And Randy Orton, as far as that crop of talent is concerned, he's outlasted everyone. He debuted in April 2002 on SmackDown, and he's never really left. I mean, apart from the odd few times he's been injured, he's been competing non-stop for almost 21 years now in WWE, and it's quite amazing. Orton's had the career that he's had, from Evolution to the Legend Killer to the Viper to the Apex Predator, Legacy. Pretty much done it all, really. Two-time Royal Rumble winner, multiple WrestleMania main events. I did hear a rumor that Randy Orton could retire at SummerSlam. I mean, what do you think about that possibility? Do you think that's a chance he could retire at SummerSlam?
I mean, it's a good possibility he could come out there at SummerSlam, retire, and just announce his retirement there if they chose to do it that way. I mean, people got to remember that's where he won his first world title at was in 2004 at SummerSlam. But
That's
we
right.
don't ever talk about it because of the wrestler that was involved in that match. They'll never talk about it again. They always just, his first world title, he found it on the ground and picked it up and won it. That's how their storytelling is, if you
Yeah.
look at it that way. So it's just one of those things that's where he won his first world title at. He has had history with SummerSlam events. He had a phenomenal match at the culminated feud with Christian at SummerSlam, and that no holds barred match. That was an incredible match they both had. They tore the house down with their incredible feud they were having. And so he's had incredible feuds at SummerSlam. He's beaten everybody. He's pretty much done everything in wrestling you can do. He's won the world title, the WWE Championship. He's held tag titles before. He held the SmackDown tag titles with Bray Wyatt. He held the Raw with Riddle. He held the U.S. title, which he didn't have to hold at the time, but he held the U.S. title, went on the WrestleMania to defend the U.S. title in a fatal four-way match. He won the Intercontinental Championship from RVD that night when all the Evolution members had championships around their waist by the end of the night. He's done everything in wrestling. He's a two-time Royal Rumble winner. There's nothing, and he's Money in the Bank winner too. We forget about he won Money in the Bank.
That's right.
He's done everything. The only thing left for him to do would be King of the Ring. He doesn't want to probably do that. The Universal Championship, if he comes back, he's not going to take it off Roman Reigns anytime soon. If he wants to come back, he might challenge a new World Championship. But the problem is, everybody's already looking at it. This is your consolation prize. You can't beat Roman. Here's your consolation prize.
Well, I mean, as you say, Randy Orton's done it all. He's had probably one of the best careers as far as the recent crop of talent is concerned. He's done it all, really. I don't really think there's anything else he's done, as you say, apart from King of the Ring, which I think if they'd kept King of the Ring going in 2003 to 4 time, I definitely would have seen Orton win the King of the Ring 100%. I can imagine him as a cocky king. I think that would have been a very interesting thing to see as the Legend Killer. I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen in terms of whether or not Orton is going to retire, but I think retiring at SummerSlam makes a lot of sense because that really was the event where Randy Orton was officially born as far as becoming the big name that we all know now. So we'll just have to see, really. I mean, at the moment, it's just a lot of rumors. But that's what I saw on Facebook that, Orton could retire at SummerSlam. But I do believe we will see Randy Orton in some shape or form. But as far as whether he competes in another match, time will tell, really. But, it would be a shame, as I said earlier, if Randy Orton retires without having one final match. But if he does retire, at least he went out like a true boss. He dropped the tag team titles to the Usos, and he also helped Matt Riddle get over. So I say not a bad way to end your career on, especially when you've had the years that Randy Orton's had under his belt. But we'll see, really. But if Randy Orton did come back for a final match, who could be the one to retire him? Who do you think could be his final opponent?
Either he could come back and he could tease the fact he's going to be tag team with Riddle again, then he could turn on Riddle, set up a program. He could say it's Riddle's fault why he was injured. He kept forcing himself to do it because he's trying to help him. And look what he did. He could use real life situation and turn to a storyline. Look what you did. You couldn't beat Roman. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do anything on your own without me. You got yourself in trouble. You had to go to rehab for a while. You lost your family. You lost all this stuff. Look what you did. Without me, you were nothing. Now look at this. Now I have to come back and try to say, I'm not going to carry you no more. And then he RKO's them. Then you set up a program. Then you got that one final match, and Riddle squares everybody that he's going to end up being the one retiring Orton. Then you could have Riddle versus Orton, and have Riddle be the one that ends up giving him his final match, retiring Orton for good. They can make the stipulation. He can make a stipulation. He goes, if I can't, or you be so cocky and confident, if I can't beat you, I'll just retire forever. I'll never come back. I'll retire from wrestling forever. And there you can have your setup where Riddle's like, okay, he must win, but then it makes stipulation with Riddle. All right, but if you don't win, you're fired. You're never coming back at all either. And they make it where one of them is going to be gone if they lose. And Riddle beats Randy Orton. They're officially retired. Randy Orton can go into the Hall of Fame. you can deal with this man because he really doesn't have to come back and do one final match, but if he does, you do it that way. If you're really pushing for that Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton match one more time, people got to remember Roman Reigns' first major program as a single star was against Randy Orton at SummerSlam.
That's true.
So you could push the idea of having Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton, and Orton's going, all right, if I'm going to go out the sunset, I'm going to win the championship. I'm going to be the one that Rome Tribal Chief. All I need is RKO, one RKO out of nowhere, 1, 2, 3, and I can take that title from you. Those titles from you, and I can retire as champion in your reign of terror. And you can do it that way as well. But then you lose to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has another nonsense, which he don't really need at this point. He is a made man at this point. From all the moments where they pushed him and stopped and everything like that, him being the heel and being the tribal chief is the best thing he did for his career. So Orton retired. Orton doesn't really need it, but it could be just another way to push Reigns more as this monster heel that is unstoppable. Because eventually he's going to have to lose those titles.
I think another good opponent who could retire Randy Orton, if he does decide to have a final match, I would say maybe Cody Rhodes would be a good choice because they've got a lot of history going back to even before Legacy, all the way back in 2007 when Randy Orton faced the American Dream Dusty Rhodes in that Texas Bull Rope match at the, I think it was a Great American Bash, I believe. And, Cody Rhodes was a big part of that as well. And so they've already got some history there, and of course they formed Legacy with Ted DiBiase Jr. And they also had a great feud, I think, in 2011 as well. So there's a lot of history you can draw from that with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. And of course, Cody Rhodes, if not for Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes probably wouldn't be the man he is today if not being associated with Randy Orton. So I think maybe Cody Rhodes will be a good choice and maybe possibly turn Cody Rhodes heel if they wanted to go that way, be the guy to retire Randy Orton and maybe he becomes the new legend killer. That's kind of like a way to pass the torch, really. But I think Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns, they're good choices for final opponents if Orton was willing to have one final match, depending on where he is with his health. But we'll just have to see, really. But it is very interesting to actually have a conversation about Randy Orton and retirement in the same sentence. It's something I never thought I would ever say, really. I mean, did you ever think this would ever happen? Orton retiring at this age?
Hell, I didn't want The Undertaker retire, and he kept going longer than he should have. I didn't want The Undertaker retired for selfish reasons. I was a fan of his. He retired after exactly 30 years of debuting at Survivor Series finally. And with this, Orton, we watched. I know I've watched Orton. I was 20 years old when Orton debuted on SmackDown. I am 40 years old, going to be 41 at the July 20th. So I've watched his whole career. I remember seeing his stuff in OVW, and I remember watching his stuff in WWE in the early days before he went to Evolution, before he did all that stuff, in the Legend Killer and Apex Predator, the Viper. He being part of the Wyatt family. That was another story. It was good for what it was. The WrestleMania match was not the best. People give him grief for that. But, I mean, for the storytelling, it did give Bray Wyatt an opportunity to be WWE champion for 6 weeks because of the story he had with Randy Orton. And you got to think, sometimes when Randy Orton has a feud with stories with people, it helps these other people. Like Greg, I don't think Bray Wyatt would ever want to do the championship at that time had he not had this program with Randy Orton building up. He would have never won the championship. It would have been AJ Styles or John Cena retaining. It wouldn't have happened. He would not won the Elimination Chamber. We would have had that incredible moment WrestleMania 31 with Seth Rollins going for the curb stomp and Randy Orton pushing up and hitting the RKO on him out of nowhere. And we heard stories about that on the Edge and Christian's podcast where he was like, I didn't think I was going to do it. Seth had to take him convincing. Like, what are you going to do? What's the first thing going to happen? You're going to screw it up. We'll go with something else. We screw it up. It's with one match. It's not going to hurt your career. You're like, because Orton wanted to be safe. Like, well, you just jump off in the middle rope. You jump off in an RKO. He wanted to be safe. And it took Rollins a lot of convincing. He's like, well, just do it this way. I can do my part. You just do your part. And it came off perfect. You've never seen an RKO like that. That was probably his best at RKO, and the one he did on Lesnar when Heyman was on. They were like, "You'll never hit an RKO on Lesnar. You'll never hit it on him. You'll never get out of nowhere. You'll never hit it, bam!" And he had a shirt on RKO out of nowhere. He hit that RKO out of nowhere on Lesnar.
I think Randy Orton's best feud for me was probably the feud he had with Mick Foley in 2004. I thought that was a really good feud and really helped cement Randy Orton's position as a main event performer, just like what Mick Foley did for Triple H 4 years earlier. I think that was a really good feud. It really elevated Orton as the legend killer, and the hardcore match they had at Backlash I thought was fantastic and definitely the match of the night. I thought that was a really good match, and I think that match with Mick Foley, Randy Orton definitely showed everyone that he was more than just, another young prodigy. He was very tough, and he earned everyone's respect at that pay-per-view. I definitely think that was probably the best feud he ever had, was with Mick Foley. I thought that was a really good one. Out of all the feuds he's had, I really enjoyed that one probably the most. And I think the worst feud, if I had to choose one, I didn't like the feud with John Cena, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't enjoy it. There was far too many matches, and yes, some of the matches were good. Some of the matches were a bit hit and miss for me, but I didn't enjoy it because it just went on for far too long than it should have. I think it dragged on, and WWE have this idea that, a classic rivalry is two guys having thousands of matches. No, it's not. I mean, you could have 5 matches and still have a great rivalry, but Randy Orton and John Cena had far too many, and I didn't think their rivalry was that good. What about you, Chris? What was your favorite Randy Orton feud and worst Randy Orton feud?
Well, I don't want to say Cena was the worst because of the fact that Cena, remember, Cena's third title reign. He had over a year as a champion. He got injured against Mr. Kennedy, and then that changed the plans because I think Orton was originally in his over year-long title reign. That would have been the first major program these two had together. And that got derailed for a little bit. So when Cena came back, their first really program was at WrestleMania 24, which didn't turn out right because Triple H had to be involved in the main event, so they had a three-way dance in that. And so I think their best match they had to me was Unbreakable. Unbreakable, I believe it was. No,
I think it was Breaking Point, wasn't it?
Breaking Point, yeah, it was the match they had was the I Quit match.
That's
and
right.
He beat the crap out of Cena when he handcuffed him, hit him with that chain. They beat the crap out of each other with everything they had, and Cena was able to get the championship back. And that was one of my favorite matches they had. But after that, it just got, and the 60-minute Iron Man match they had was very entertaining. And I can't say it was worth it because we got some incredible matches. Those two matches particularly were really good matches that I could watch back and be like, well, that was really barbaric for the time, even in the TV era, how barbaric that Breaking Point match was. And the other one was, like I said, it was entertaining for the 6-minute Iron Man match. What they did was very entertaining. I put it right up there in the top 5 along with like Triple H versus The Rock, because if you watch from an entertainment standpoint, they were both very good with an entertainment standpoint. It wasn't like the original one that, you had a lot of stop and stall. They didn't stall. They kept going and going, and they were doing something. They were moving. They were doing something. But it's hard to say which one is his worst rivalry. I mean, I think, honestly, to me, the feud they had with Ted DiBiase, he ended up having Ted DiBiase Jr. and Cody Rhodes, wasn't that good after they broke up. I just think, like,
No, it wasn't that good.
You had an opportunity to put one of the younger stars over, and he still won the triple threat match. And he became the babyface after that. It's like, wait a minute, you were just dashingly hero heel. You were punching everybody in the skull. You did all this stuff. This could have been Cody Rhodes' moment at the time. Now he's going to get comeuppance for you kicked my father. You punched my father in the head. He gave a title match to. He did all the stuff for you when he was the GM for the night, and you punted him in the head, and all this stuff. And like, remember it was supposed to be Orton versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. His father made the matchup as the Raw GM for the night. They were doing that anonymous GMs every week, and he did that match. They had John Cena as referee. That all it did was set up John Cena to be beaten down. It was all set up, and then he still attacked us in American Dream, Dusty Rhodes at the end of it. So all in all, like I said, I think we can't. I mean, as of recently, like I said, his feud with Ed was pretty good when Ed came back.
Yeah,
I think Randy Orton was right on it.
I enjoyed that one.
But my favorite feud of all time with him, I would have to say The Undertaker, because he made you believe he could end the streak. When he hit that RKO at WrestleMania, you thought it was over because nobody had kicked out the RKO. Nobody had until Undertaker did at WrestleMania. And then he got his win at SummerSlam, but they continued their feud on and off until we had the Hell in a Cell match. And Undertaker finally beat him at Hell in a Cell. It ended the feud. But you had those moments where you had the Undertaker in the casket look like a mannequin. It really was the Undertaker. Just the different things they did was interesting in that whole feud. And that was like from WrestleMania all the way till December. These two feuded. It had involved Orton in the feud and everything like that. So to me, I think it would be Undertaker versus Randy Orton. That also helped Randy Orton's career. That helped him reinvent himself as a heel, because he went to that babyface when he won the world title. That babyface run didn't help. You remember the biggest pop he ever had was the night that he got screwed and Ric Flair beat him for Sport Survivor Series. Ric Flair beat him. He could never challenge for the world championship again. All the Raw superstars were there. Triple H and Ric Flair get put in the ring. Randy Orton sitting there, RKO Triple H, RKO Ric Flair. Triple H is trying to escape. Benoit, and you got Jericho and Mavis. Everybody's holding him back, holding Triple H up. Here's the crowd's red, camera shaking, RKO. And that was one of the biggest pops I think he ever got in his career, was that moment when he RKO'd Triple H.
That was a big moment, and people, tend to forget that. Yeah, his run as a face wasn't the greatest, but there were some moments that, Randy Orton got some very big pops. Round about November 2004 to December 2004, he was getting some very, very big reactions every week on Raw. I think New Year's Revolution, the fans kind of like soured on him, and they started moving more towards Batista. I mean, Batista was already getting, big pops from the fans anyway. But I think New Year's Revolution, the fans decided that they had enough of Orton and they were jumping more towards Batista. But I definitely feel that, and I'm sure you probably agree with this, I definitely feel Randy Orton works much better as a heel than a face. He's just a natural.
Oh, yeah, he does. He's a national heel. He's better at the villain than he is face. Now, his best face run was for Matt Riddle. And it's not really, he was more playing that anti-hero kind of character like Austin was. He's more like, I can't just RKO you out of nowhere, right? You do know I'll hit you with RKO. I mean, he was, and like I said, they ended up performing well together. I mean, Randy Orton even won a match with Matt Riddle's own finisher, Bro Derek. He won a match with that move. I mean, he's done it all. And people on their side of it, too, is people got to remember the last two matches Triple H had before he was forced to retire. And it was Batista at WrestleMania and the Super Showdown with Randy Orton. So Randy Orton's gave Triple H his final match. That's so big a history if you've got to remember. He gave Triple H his final match in wrestling.
That's
the
true.
Man that helped elevate his career is the one that he lost to at the very end, and his Triple H's final match, which we didn't know that was going to be his final match. So he had the heart issues and almost passed away and stuff. And then he came back and was told he ain't going to wrestle again. He's got a heart failure later down. He's never going to wrestle again.
That's true, actually. Yeah. Randy Orton was actually the final opponent for Triple H. Wow, that's just that's insane, really, when you think about it. And as you said, his final two matches was against two former Evolution members, so it seems only fitting. The the two guys he helped elevate are the ones he ends up having his two final matches with. So I guess makes sense really. I would have liked to have seen a triple threat match with those three. You know, that would have been quite cool. We nearly got it, WrestleMania 30. We almost got it, but sadly, we didn't. What would have been nice to have seen that. Maybe Flair as the referee as well. That would have been quite interesting, but no, unfortunately not. We never got it. So that's going to be it from us. We are going to wrap this up now. What's your thoughts on the possibility of Randy Orton retiring? Do you think he could retire? If he was to retire, where do you see him retiring? On Raw or at SummerSlam? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. Holiday, it was great to have you here once again. Pleasure as always.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, folks, I got here too far in between just with work and life and everything. But when I get a chance, I try to get on here with Warhawk over here. But like I said, y'all can see my content exclusively on his channel on the Holiday Opinion. So like I said, you'll find me there. You'll find me on some of the older content as well. Definitely, I've seen a lot of people checking out a lot of content as well, like the Batman reviews we've done. My best experience with it was the Peacemaker season 1 reviews. Hopefully, they're coming out with season 2. Hopefully, I'll be part of the Flash movie review when the Flash, but that's coming out relatively soon. Hopefully, I'll be able to be a part of that, so we can. That's definitely going to be a very interesting movie that needs to be discussed in the future.
Oh yeah, absolutely, definitely. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.
Have a good one, y'all.